Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Coaches Show. I'm Jake Clark, joined by head coach Desmond Wiggins for our fourth consecutive week. And get it started with the game against Camden Catholic. Just wasn't your guys' night out there.
Absolutely.
What were some things that could have been executed better on the field?
Well, I'll say this. Regards to the game overall, I believe that, mentally guys were ready to come and play. But then we just had a lot of early mistakes. We got the onside kick right from the jump. We decided to do that. But then the first play of the game, immediately, we had like a penalty that brought us back 15 yards. I didn't really think it was a penalty, but we basically got that. And that kind of just started the spiral effect. We had a good play. We got 20 yards, and then we had a 15-yard penalty. So it was just like those kind of things started adding up. And then when those things started adding up, it was just kind of hard to get back from.
Well, and that seems to be a theme throughout the season is once you guys get a good thing going, it usually ends up coming back with self-inflicted wounds.
Absolutely.
How do you combat that with the team, trying to get the message through that we got to play a clean game of football?
That's good. I believe it's just a mentality. It's a growth mentality. Like I said before, too, as well, throughout the times we've been talking, we have a lot of freshmen, sophomores. And so with that, with a mixture of a few, like our junior class probably the least amount, and then seniors, too, as well. So just trying to keep the mentality going throughout 48 minutes. It's hard sometimes when you've been, if you've lost a game or two, and then just trying to keep that mentality for 48 minutes. And that's one of the things I keep pushing is just locking in for 48 minutes. And we're going to do the best to keep doing that.
Yeah, and a couple injuries to the offensive line, I believe, that happened in that game. Talk about how you have to have a next man up mentality, not only for the starters to stay locked in, but for the reserves to stay engaged during practice.
Absolutely. So it's interesting because a lot of people don't know, like when you're not really paying attention, we haven't had our offensive line or defensive line only for the first two games of the season, like our entire unit. So we're in week 7, I think. So we've only had them the first two games, actually the entire starting offensive line and defensive line. So that is the unit, especially the offensive line, that you have to have camaraderie with because it's 5 people playing as one unit compared to all the other positions. So it's been a unique challenge. We had, like I said, Nico and Kenny's out, and then even Javi, who's really grown a lot in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But it's been an interesting challenge of just trying to get kids adapt to basically coming in. Offensive line is not just plug and play. It's changing almost your entire look by one guy with 5 guys. And so it's a unique challenge, but the kids are up to it, and they're willing to work, and they've been working at it.
Yeah, and then obviously only 3 weeks left in the season, 3 more games. What are some end goals that you guys have as a team?
Absolutely. I told the team, man, I want to see you guys finish, completely finish. I know the season hasn't gone the way that we want it to go completely. Like I said, we're 1-5. West Effort we're playing this week's 1-5, and so basically both teams are looking to finish strong. And I told them I want to see, these kinds of things is not just what makes you a football player. These kinds of weeks tells you what you're going to be as a man growing up. And so that's one of the things I'm implementing to the team. It's just kind of talking to them about the reality of this isn't just you quitting on football and your mentality. It's about how you handle life. And so that's the message we're kind of pushing this next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and first start for quarterback Jathan Chandler. How did the offense look with him at the helm?
I thought it looked pretty good. I thought Jathan, he's getting used to everything too as well. He can run a lot, and he's bigger, he's physical, and he's got great height, and he's just going after. So we just are just trying to get him adapt to the pace of with our receivers, how he's moving, how he's communicating. But I think overall it wasn't bad. It was just a few throws that we wish we had back, but overall it's going well.
Yeah, now looking at the defensive side of the ball, talk about some of the things that the front 7 can do to get pressure on the quarterback a little better and stop the run in its tracks.
Absolutely. Talk to our guys about one of the things, if I can hopefully not talk too much football jargon, hopefully everyone understands it, but I'm just trying to get our linebackers to understand more and more about filling gaps. When they see a gap, shooting the gap, knowing their run fits, and just filling the gap. So when they see something open up, don't hesitate. Just get after it. I told them it's football, so you've got to be aggressive. And if we do that, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and then we look at the back half of the defense and the secondary. What are some things that you preach to those guys to stop the big play through the air?
Absolutely. I tell them to just stop looking in the backfield. I know that it's easier said than done, but it's the consistency of when we're in zone coverage, keeping your eyes back because there's always going to be something coming behind you, even if it's not your first guy. We teach our DBs how to read from 1 to 2 to 3, depending upon who's lined up on their side, and even how things can come opposite side. So we just, keep reiterating, don't look at the quarterback, just keep getting depth and knowing what you're supposed to cover.
Yeah, and obviously that mindset has to probably change in different coverages, as in man, zone, if we're going to run a blitz, things like that.
Yeah.
Next question for you, Coach, is West Deptford has had a historically good football program.
Yeah.
And they're having a bit of a down year this year, as you mentioned, 1-5. What would it mean for you as a coach and for the team to get a win against them to notch win number 2?
Absolutely. Well, West Deptford, number one, I hate playing against them because of what the offense, they run a wing T, and it's very it's an interesting offense, but it's hard to stop and it's easy to stop at the same time. It's very, very unique. But it would mean a lot for us to get this win, just because, again, it's West Deptford. It's their homecoming. They scheduled us for homecoming. I always take that as an offense. So it'll mean a lot for us to be able to go out there, get a W, and begin to deal with the doubters and what they're thinking concerning starting football.
Yeah, and for this matchup against the West Deptford Eagles, what are some critical positional matchups that you're going to have to win to come out with a victory?
Absolutely. We've got to win inside the trenches. We have to win really at our 3 technique, and we have to really win outside. We have to make sure we're playing great contain with our outside linebackers, and I think if we do that the way that we're coaching it, I hope we should do well.
Yeah, and going away to West Deptford, going into enemy territory is never easy. Talk about some of the things you tell the kids to try and stay focused on just what's happening on the field.
Absolutely. We tell our kids to, as much as possible, to talk with your pads. Don't talk with your mouth. Don't, get into that whole game of back and forth. Look at the guy across from you. You can see what's in their eyes, and just talk with your pads. Because if you talk with your pads, that'll do all the talking that you need to do. Don't focus on what you guys hear other teams saying, what other fans are saying. Just do what you're supposed to do with your pads. If you do that, there won't be much talking. So that's kind of the message we relay as coaches.
Yeah, I really like that motto. That's got a little bit of a ring to it. And then last question for you, Coach. What is your plan to go after and try and recruit through the feeder program in the youth and out in the community?
Absolutely. So with our youth program, I do my best to try to be there for games. I've been to games this year, and just try to show my face, show their face during their picture day. Just keeping communication open with parents, understanding what we're building, because again, on the outside looking in, it's like, okay, you're 1-5, you guys lost games. But the understanding is that we have a young program and we're building, trying to establish. And, my message is too, as well, even to the young kids, you guys can be the change, and so that's one of the things that we're preaching to our freshmen, who have been wonderful too, as well. Our whole team been wonderful, but our freshmen, we just keep reiterating to them that you guys are going to be the change. And so I've been through this process before. I went through it in college, where my freshman class in college, we were the change. We went, like I said before, when I got interviewed, we went from 1-11 to 3-9 to 12-1 to 12-1. So it's like, as a freshman class, we became the change. And so that's one of the things I keep preaching to them and to the kids that are coming up.
Yeah, and so that'll do it for this edition of the Coaches Show. Again, I'm Jake Clark, joined by Coach Desmond Wiggins. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure's
and
mine.
Have a great day, and as always, go Knights.